Hey metalheads, you like tattoos? Of course you do. If you're in the Louisville, Kentucky area, come on over the bridge to Clarksville, Indiana, and get you some ink done at Ageless Art. If ink isn't your thing, they have a piercing studio as well. Visit agelessartclarksville.com to see some frequently asked questions, meet the staff. The shop is open Monday through Thursday, 12 to 8 p.m., Saturdays, 12 to 10 p.m., and Sundays, 12 to 6 p.m., all appointment-only spots. You can set up your appointments by phone at 812-283-1793 or email agelessarttattooandpiercing@gmail.com and someone will get you set up for your first or your next tattoo or piercing.
Hey, it's Jeff McNichol down here at Mom's Music, 1900 Melwood Avenue. I was just thinking, when I was a kid, the magic was at Frankfort Avenue, the Mom's Music at Frankfort Avenue, and I used to beg people to get a ride down there just to hang out with the guys and see all the cool gear. Now that I'm the owner of this store, it's like a dream come true. We're recreating the magic with the vibe that we used to have at the old store. We're carrying all the gear that you're going to possibly want. We're giving you the outstanding service and personal attention that you deserve. Yeah, so we've got the great guitar shop here. We're carrying USA Fender, USA Gibson, Paul Reed Smith, Gretsch, Jackson, Charvel. Anything you could possibly want, we're going to have it for you. Mom's is and always will be Louisville's music store.
Thank you for tuning into the Metal Forge. I am Mark Jackson and I'm your host. The premise of the show is pretty simple. Awesome interviews and awesome music. If you want to contact me, hit me up at metalforgeradio@gmail.com or visit the website metalforgeradio.com. And now let's get this show on the road.
What is going on, metalheads? Thank you all for tuning in. Wherever you're tuning in from, whatever time you are tuning in at. My name is Mark Jackson, and I am your host of The Metal Forge, and welcome to another awesome episode. Today, I have Pinz from the band Basher, and I've got this awesome cassette tape here in my hand of Destructions Included, and it's awesome, and I love it. It's super cool stuff. But before we talk to Pinz, who is sitting right here with me right now, before we talk to him, we're going to talk about other cool stuff that's going on this weekend. Like, Louder Than Life is back here in the Louisville, Kentucky area. You know, Metallica's playing a couple of sets Friday and Sunday. Judas Priest. I'm going to get to see Judas Priest on Sunday for the first time ever. Better late than never. You know, hopefully, you know, I did go see ZZ Top for the first time ever this year, and it was Dusty's last show. Hopefully that's not like this for this time. But anyway, for sure, yeah, cool stuff. Sabaton is playing. I want to see them. I want to see The Hue. I want to see, you know, quite a few other bands on the bill. And awesome stuff, you know. Hey, I can't, like, I haven't been to a concert, obviously, since ZZ Top, and before that, it was probably Kiss in 2019 was the last show I went to. No, I take that back. I saw Iron Maiden that August, and that was kind of the last really big show I went to, and that was the Legacy of the Beast tour, which was super cool stuff. I really enjoyed doing that. The whole, like, big festival thing, it's rough, you know. You've got to, as much as people have to be in shape to go on tour, to be a musician and be in shape and play shows and stuff like that, I think you almost have to be in some bit of shape to go to like a 3 or 4 day festival thing. Because, you know, yeah, it's cooler here to this week in the Louisville, Kentucky area than it has been, you know, all summer long. But it's, you know, it takes a lot out of you, you know, physically, and you know, it's rough. So please, anybody going over the weekend, please be safe. Stay hydrated. It's still going to get hot throughout the day. It's not crazy hot, but, you know, the sun beats down. So just stay safe, stay hydrated. You know, be safe, still wear your mask because there's going to be a lot of people there. So I got this really awesome rig set up from the store, and it's super cool because like I've never actually had like a real turntable setup, you know. It's a real stereo Pinocchio kind of thing, and I was really enamored with it. And I got the Sony preamp and the turntable, the Sherwood turntable, and a 200 disc changer, a 200 disc Sony changer, and a couple of Pioneer Tower speakers. And oh my gosh, it's insane. It sounds so good. Thank you to John at Vintage Audio Equipment for hooking me up and getting some awesome sounding stuff. And yes, you know, the first vinyl I played on it when we tested it out at the store was Mind Freeze by Haunt. And it sounded so amazing. It was insane. I absolutely love it. Again, thank you, John at Vintage Audio Equipment, for hooking me up. But yeah, let's get on with the show here, you know. Let's thank some sponsors really fast. Down below there are links to the sponsors, and without you guys supporting them, they can't support the Metal Forge either. And I am so grateful that you all do help these businesses. Whether you're listening to their podcast, you're buying instruments from them, you're going and getting tattoos, you're going to the Discogs page. Thank you all so much, and continue to please support all of these guys. You know, Ageless Art, Tattoo and Piercing, Mom's Music, Maxwell's House of Music, Better Days Records, Unchained Tapes, Mercenary Press, The Wrestling Steve Show, The Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast, the It's Gonna Get Weird Podcast. Keep supporting those guys, because every bit helps us at the Metal Forge, and it helps them too. Also, making sure you all click on the Spotify playlists as well. You get to hear all of the previous bands that have been on the show, and you'll be supporting those people as well too. Thank you all. All right, so let's go ahead and get this show on the road. This is from Basher, Destructions Included. Why not a self-titled track? This is the song Basher.
Kicking off.
All right, metalheads. I am sitting here with Pinz from the band Basher.
Hey.
The most punk band at a metal show, but the most metal band at a punk show.
I'll take that. Yeah.
And I just recently saw you guys perform at the Heavy Hell 2 festival up at Black Circle Brewing in Indianapolis.
Killer time.
It was super cool. It wasn't like ridiculously hot out that day. I know I got some pretty cool pictures I just put on the website here a couple of weeks ago of that show. So, dude, what's going on? How you been?
Busy. It once the gates opened for bands to play again, everything started lining up between a bunch of bands. Basher, we started off last summer out of quarantine boredom, and so once we got to play shows, we wrapped up our debut recording, and we booked 4 shows in a row. Just went ahead and did a little mini tour through Indiana and Illinois, and it was intense. It was a lot of last-minute preparation, but, I feel like we kicked it hard.
Absolutely. And I've actually got a copy right here of Destructions Included.
Nice.
The Basher limited edition to 100 tape. And tape has always been an interesting thing to me because I remember being a kid and this is what it was. We had tapes, and then because my parents never wanted to get me CDs until I was like 12 or 13 because, getting a 10-year-old a CD, they wouldn't take care of it.
Right. Scratch
so I always had tapes and shit like that. And now it seems like in the last 5 or 6 years, tapes have really came back.
I'll tell you why. I have a big theory on that. One, the CD has obviously died, which is total bullshit because tell me about a more practical format. I mean, I don't know. It's just a fad thing, I think. I think they're going to come back because they are way more practical. But the main thing is cassettes are the most low investment, tangible product that a band can make. A band isn't sitting on over $1,000 to press vinyl and even CDs. If you want like a good looking real CD, not CDR, it costs a few hundred, but for a cassette, you can make 100 of them for $300.
Right. Yeah. And I was also told at one time from a local label here in the Louisville, Kentucky area that most of the kids who went back to tapes, all these like hardcore band kids and things like that, were starting to get cars. Once they were 16 and 17, they were starting to get like those like 1990 Corollas, and they all have tape decks. None of them have CD players or nothing like that.
Yeah, that could be a factor for sure.
And I thought about it, and I was like, that's really, really interesting because I've always liked tapes. I've always, because it's got the same ability that a vinyl has, where you can just open up the artwork and just look at it.
Sure.
Especially if, those J-card inserts and everything, where you just unfold everything.
Yep.
And when you get, like, I had a copy of the Black Album, and it was like 12 panels.
That was the first album I ever bought on cassette.
Oh, no kidding.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And here we are 30 years later, and it's back again.
Right. Oh, yeah. In what, like a 10-disc set, and then they have that
that's
just
the vinyl.
Yeah, well, and they also have that vinyl. It's like, what, 11 or 12 LPs of tributes. I looked at that. There's like a side and a half, or 2.5 sides of Nothing Else Matters covers.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, who wants that?
and yeah, I was fighting with that, too, because the store I work at, Better Days Records, they're getting those for the store. The Blacklist is what it's called.
Right.
And while some of them are really good, like the Hughes cover of Sad But True, that they released for Record Store Day, because it's, I'm not sure if you're familiar with them, but they actually perform it in
like that pop punk band.
Yeah, in Chinese.
Oh, really?
Yes, and it's so fucking hardcore that it's heavy as shit.
They do it in Chinese?
Yes.
The American band?
No, not the. It's the HU.
Oh, I thought you said the used.
Oh,
I
no,
was like,
no.
All right,
the
let's
hue.
move. Okay, all right. Sorry, my
Yeah.
bad. Let's move on from talking about crappy, pop punk.
Yeah,
melodic
right.
band. Sorry.
And what's cool about it is, like, for those gems that are involved, then there's also a ton of, like, there's like 7 or 8 covers of Sad But True and Enter Sandman. But, like, once you get to the very end of the album, there's like 1 or 2 Struggle Withins. There's 1 or 2 My Friend of Miseries. And it's like, to me, the better songs on the album, there's like 1 or 2 covers of it.
Yeah.
So it's like, what the fuck?
Right.
But that's not why we're here. We're here to talk about Basher. And you said that this was something that you all got together and did last summer. So it was sort of a little bit of a passion project. Was it set out to be just like a recording deal, or was this always something that you wanted to take and play shows with?
Well, me and the drummer used to have kind of like a noise D-beat band called Secrete, and that kind of fell apart because of too long to get into it. Cancel culture bullshit. But me and the drummer loved playing together, so we instantly wanted to do something else, and that combined with my roommate and I, we always planned on doing something else, though we were going to do something more like Killing Joke style, but that's hard to wrap my mind around writing wise. And the other thing is that I haven't fronted and kind of led a band in a long time. I used to do it a lot with punk bands and like motorcore bands, speed punk bands. But then I kind of sunk into heavy metal world with High Spirits, touring off and on with Savage Master the last couple of years. So, I like being the front man. I don't feel like I have to be. I don't feel like I've got a message to send or nothing, but I do like doing it. So with all my other projects put on idle for the plague, I just decided to go for it and brought everybody together.
Definitely. And it's really interesting how, when you haven't done something for a while, that when you get back into it and you're like, this is pretty cool. The stuff that you kind of miss doing.
Sure, totally.
Because I've done similar things where I've just, I haven't played guitar for a very long time. So when I set up in here in the new room, and I'm just like, you know what? I'm gonna dick around with the capo and just like get into these like alternate tunings. And when you haven't done something for such a long time, you find the fun in it again, I think.
Yeah, I think it's almost hard to get back into it, but once you do, you fall down this hole of like inspiration and just remembering what you used to do. Sometimes it's just hard to like break the ice.
Right. Absolutely. So the Heavy Hell 2 was your all's first show back, is that correct?
That was our third show.
Okay.
Not back, but just third show. We played our debut in Bloomington, where we're from, and
IU represent.
Yeah. Hoosier. Yeah. I've only been there about 6 years, and I'll be heading out of there in a year. But anyway, so we played Bloomington, then we went up to a Chicago suburb to a bar my buddy owns, and then Heavy Hell, and then we closed it off with a Sunday in Fort Wayne, which has always been a great scene.
I've heard it is a super rad scene to play up there.
Yeah, for punk, metal, crusty stuff for sure.
Definitely.
They got a huge hardcore thing going on right now.
And it seems like that is a major thoroughfare for a lot of bands these days. You got a lot of people from the Louisville area that move there. You've got a lot of people from like northern Indiana who don't want to go to Detroit. They move there rather than Indianapolis, which is always interesting to me. Yeah,
I mean, it's an affordable place to live, and some of the areas kind of like downtrodden or something, and those kind of areas always inspire art, music, because musicians can have the time to play music and not have to work nonstop for the rent, you know? Yeah.
Absolutely. And of course, for any touring musician, it's always difficult for the rent deal.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, that's why you get a bunch of roommates or you find a place that's rent controlled. Yep. That was why Lemmy stayed where he did for so long. Right. Because it was rent controlled.
Oh, yeah. In LA, yeah.
Yeah. And I think he was paying less than $1,000 a month for his apartment in LA.
Yeah.
2 blocks from the Rainbow.
I've actually kind of got an apartment on hold for me out in West Hollywood if I want it. A friend's lived there since like early 2000s. She pays like $1,500 a month for a sizable 2-bedroom place that if I pull the trigger when she moves out, she's going to put me on the lease and hopefully I'll inherit the rent if I want to go that way.
That's pretty badass, though. I mean,
yeah.
You know, hopefully the landlords don't decide to be like, oh, well, we got to go with the times. It's going to be $3,900 a month.
Oh, that's what it would go for. Her landlord hates her.
Oh, shit.
And I'd like to go do a stint in LA. You know, I don't think I'd like survive there forever, but I love going out there.
Well, and that's interesting because that was one of the things I was speaking with Joe Trucks about a couple of weeks ago, is how he watched LA change overnight for being out there 30, 35 years ago.
Oh, I can imagine.
And how everything has changed. So, yeah, even the diehards who are from there don't even like it anymore.
Yeah, everybody, you know, all the locals get jaded by quotes, progress, and stuff like that. You know, everybody's like that. You know, they want to go somewhere else. I mean, I'm about to move to Nashville next year, and my girlfriend, you know, she never stops talking about how different it is, which I mean, I see a change just in the year and a half we've been dating.
Right. Well, see, the cool thing with Nashville is that everybody thinks it's a country town, like country music. And yeah, there is a ton of massive country things that go on there, but there are so many more.
Oh, things. So much more.
There's so much more metal and punk and just in general. Yeah. It's like a Fort Wayne. It's a major thoroughfare for musicians that, you know, it's right on the line in travel for a lot of places, to Atlanta, to Florida, and all of that stuff. Yeah,
I was just at the Muddy Roots Festival, and most of the best bands that played were from Nashville, like a bunch of street punk bands. And, oh, man, there's this kind of crossover band where they called Waxed. They will blow your doors off. We're talking about, like, what it must have been like to see Municipal Waste in their first 5 shows.
Wow.
I mean, it was killer.
And... wow, because Municipal Waste is just fucking rad anyways.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you first hear them, if you're into that stuff, I mean, when I first heard Hazardous Mutation, it was like, you know, and this Wax band, I mean, I'm telling you, watch out. They're coming.
Hell yeah.
And they have the fire, too. I started talking to the singer, and I always like it when singers aren't like, yeah, you know, whatever. You know, he went on, and his intensity was showing, which is great. Like, rocket.
Right. Well, you hit on something there, like, because, you know, I do vocals in my band, and I know you do with Basher, and you do the backing vocals in like Savage Master, and I'm assuming High Spirits as well.
Yeah, as long as I don't have to carry a melody. You know, I'm like a gang vocal type guy / screamer. Pretty tone deaf.
So when you're doing the stuff for Savage Master, you sing the High Priestess lines.
Oh, yeah, pretty much. Or whenever I get to go 666.
Right, yeah. For sure. But you mentioned the singers being like, yeah, whatever. And I don't know, I've run into 2 types that do that. The ones who are like douchebags, and the ones who are just so introverted that you watch them on stage tear the fuck down.
Yeah.
On stage, and then when they come off, they're like, yeah, whatever, because they're like so shy.
Oh, totally. Oh, totally. I mean, that's like comedians, you know. It's like Chevy Chase or Eddie Murphy or something. Hilarious on stage, super, you know, stoic in real life. Because
I heard that's Chevy Chase is because he's a dickhead, though.
Could be. Yeah. I don't know why that popped into my head, but yeah, I mean, for a lot of people, it's acting, you know?
Yeah, it's a character.
Sure.
And it's a character to the degree of, you know, if you do have a message ultimately, I think, with whatever song you're singing.
Sure.
Not necessarily, it doesn't have to be a cohesive narrative between your whole set, but yeah, there is something that's out there that you want people to hear. I know that for a fact.
Yeah, I hear that. You know, in this whole, like, last 5 years of just political beatdown. I'm not a very political guy. I'm not sharing any tweets or nothing, but all this Basher stuff was written last June, July, and it's impossible. It was impossible not to touch on subjects. There's like 2 very political songs, and like, that's not my thing, but I just write about what's going on around me, be it something political or my buddy getting a DUI for, driving shirtless, eating Taco Bell at 4 a.m. It's like whatever's happening,
That's a true story?
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah. It was a song called 30 and a 55 by my very old band Big Jesus, not the Big Jesus that is now a popular band. Yeah. Pre that one.
That's an insane.
Yeah, I mean, I like to write about like real stuff. I don't really write vague lyrics. High Spirits. Chris writes a lot of vague lyrics, so a lot of people can identify and they make sense to them. Whereas my stuff, it's like you're not gonna get it.
Right?
It happened to me. This song's about this bar that I know. You don't know it, which that's just what I do.
Right?
So I'm kind of a smart ass.
Hey everybody, let me tell you about the new sponsor to the Metal Forge, Unchained Tapes. They're an independent Pennsylvania tape label. They focus on extreme metal and punk with a killer approach to the tape scene. Visit their web store at unchainedtapes.bigcartel.com now to get your fill of tapes. And for being a Metal Forge listener, enter the code METALFORGE10 at checkout to get a 10% discount on your total purchase. That's unchainedtapes.bigcartel.com. Hey, let me tell you guys about Mercenary Press. They're an independent London label and distributor of all things metal. Mercenary Press delivers the goods from their own independent zine. Trust me, you're going to want to get in on that. To distributing various bands from all over the world, including Cramp from Spain and Sadistic Force from Texas. Visit mercenarypress.bigcartel.com to find out what all they have in stock and what you can order. And for Metal Forge listeners, enter code METALFORGE to receive a discount on your total purchase at mercenarypress.bigcartel.com. Check it out now.
I think that's something that we all do to a degree as writers. We all have to find out what works for us.
Mm-hmm.
And my thing is like, I always like use like Nickelback for this. And I know they get a lot of hate. But my point is this. The song Never Again is about domestic abuse.
Mm-hmm.
Now, whether or not they've ever experienced it or not firsthand, I've always found it very fucked up to write a song about domestic abuse, regardless of if you've experienced it or not.
Sure.
Because it's just like such a fucked up subject.
I mean, how about that Korn song, Daddy?
Right.
Off that first album? I mean, God, that's...
Well, and not only just that, but... what is Thoughtless, talks about his being molested as a child as well, too. But yet the first album cover is a silhouette of a guy, like, staring at a kid on a swing set.
Yep.
Which is fucked up.
Yep, totally.
So, yeah, that cover did not age well for anything.
Especially
now
in this
we're here
world.
25, almost 30 years later.
Yeah. Korn's first headlining tour was... the first concert I went to, and I was 13, maybe 14 or something, and I mean when that album came out, that was like the most aggressive thing anybody ever heard. Now, I didn't make it past the second album with them. I dropped out of that whole thing, and I can't even listen to that shit now. But that was like huge at the time.
Oh, it was.
Mm-hmm.
That whole idea. I think what they did is they tried to turn up the Anthrax Public Enemy thing to 11.
Oh, sure. Or the Judgment Night soundtrack.
Yeah.
Or actually, I usually blame Faith No More, Helmet, Judgment Night soundtrack. All three of those things I love, but if you gave me the chance to erase it from history to not have led to all this other stuff, I might pull that. Trigger.
We might do that.
I mean, I'll miss Angel Dust and that Judgment Night soundtrack. Selective Helmet, but
I think Helmet's greatest thing they ever did was they did a cover of Symptom of the Universe
Oh,
for the
yeah.
Jerky
Boy soundtrack. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Killer.
And
Yeah.
it's like, holy shit. And it's so good. And it's
Yeah.
like you listen to everything else and you're like, what the fuck?
Actually, when I was younger, like a young teen, I really wasn't into Black Sabbath, but I always liked it when bands covered Black Sabbath. Like that Nativity in Black tribute was mind-blowing. But then I listened to the original songs, and as a young teen, it just didn't like have that new edge that gripped me. And then like around 20, I pulled my head out of my ass.
Well, to me, I think you've got to reach a certain certain maturity level to understand certain things.
Sure.
And I equate this. I used to fucking hate, and I kind of still do. I used to hate Bruce Springsteen.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the man has diarrhea of the pen. He writes this fucking cohesive narrative story, and tries to put it in a song. And a lot of his songs are done better by other people, like Blinded by the Light, for example.
Oh, yeah, I hear that.
309,
Right.
Johnny Cash did. Super fucking rad.
Right.
But, if one line of lyric is the highway's jammed with broken heroes on a last chance power drive,
Mm-hmm.
it's a little bit too much for me.
Yeah, I hear that.
But by the time, I turned 25, and for some reason it clicked, and I started to understand it,
Mm-hmm.
and I was just like, okay, I kind of get this, but it's like still, and you too,
Right.
that'll still never happen.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Nobody wants to put on U2 anymore.
No,
But when I was like under 10 years old, I have very few memories of listening to music. So my mom wasn't really into it. My dad was, but I don't really remember much of that. But I do remember The Boss on the radio. I do remember Got My Mind Set on You on all the time, which I still think is the best thing any of those Fab Four idiots ever did.
You know what? I agree with you. To me, that's a guilty pleasure song.
Yeah. I mean, the 80s had all the hooks. All the best hooks came from the 80s.
I mean, when you look at George, like All Things Must Pass era George, to then you get to like 1981 when that song comes out.
Yeah.
And there's 3 songs. That's one of them that always remind me of the other one.
Mm-hmm.
Is Bang the Drum All Day is one. And the other is Pete Townsend, If My Love Opened the Door.
Oh, great song.
Those 3 songs all came out around the same era, and they all remind me of each other. And it's
that's not a bad thing.
That whole English rock pop thing that happened in like the very early 80s.
Those were like made for movie soundtrack songs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Kenny Loggins later perfected that.
right.
For sure.
Yeah.
But no, so again, with Basher here, with the tape, do you have any current ideas for what you're going to do next? Are you going to do a full length? Are you going to try vinyl? Because you just got off tour with Savage Master, which I hope really went well. And so what's up with Basher for afterwards?
So now that the Savage Master tour is over, I've got to delete those songs from my memory bank and re-import High Spirit stuff. And I even got to learn a couple new songs there for a fest in October. And then back up. Now that Savage Master is over, this weekend I'm playing with my old metal band Zool in Carbondale, Illinois, where we're having the 35th anniversary of our punk house. It's a whole weekender. Celebrating the fact that, our clubhouse has been around since 86.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's been a while for Zool. So we're going to tear that up tonight or tomorrow. Anyway, then delete the Zool songs, import some High Spirits for a fest in October up in Chicago.
Which is, I think, Legions of Metal 3.5.
Something like that. Legions of Metal. I think we've done it once before. Maybe it was called Ragnarok then, or they had already changed the name. But this time it's just a day-long fest instead of a weekender.
Right.
I think Raven's playing.
Raven's playing.
Destructor.
Destructor.
Love those dudes.
Definitely. Dave, I keep trying to get him on the show, but we can never get schedules to work out.
Oh.
It's like, shit.
Make it happen. He's got a great personality.
Definitely.
I love all those guys. And
of course, Chris, has been on the show before. So.
Oh, has he?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
Yeah, he was actually the first podcast version of the Metal Forge. So before it was
like my Chris, High Spirits Chris?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
right on.
Chris Black has been on before.
Oh, right on.
Super rad.
Mm-hmm. I'll scroll back and listen to that one.
Hell yeah.
So anyway, after that Legions of Metal Fest, then I cash all that out, drag it to the recycling bin, and then we will start making more basher plans. Because, after that weekend, the other month, we're hungry to do more. Logistically, it's a little bit difficult than when we started last year because our drummer moved up to Detroit, and it works out because our bass player, that weekend of shows, was kind of our test run for him, and he did great. I mean, he's super pro, easy to get along with. So he's in Indianapolis, and then myself and my roommate are in Bloomington. So not that much distance, but it does make things more difficult than getting together weekly, which is great for me because I love long distance bands. I hate week-to-week practices. I just like to hit it for a few days in a row when it's time to write or prep for a show, and then after the show or recording, just be like, peace out. I'll catch you when we have something to do.
Right. See, that's always been interesting to me because I've always been that week-to-week guy.
Mm-hmm.
Only the last few years with Overload have we actually shifted to doing what you're talking about, where we'll get together a few weeks before a show, hammer out a set list, and go for it. And then we'll get together and write to record a few things, and then we'll do it. But then we just have downtime between everything.
Which is great. It makes you, not burn out, because, 4 or 5 adults, it's hard to keep, plans every week, especially, at our age. Most bands of dudes in their 40s, the number of kids collectively outnumber the band members.
Right.
And then people, are dealing with scheduling band stuff with their relationships, and it just burns people out. And High Spirits, we only see each other 2 times a year. We get together, practice once, and go on tour.
Wow.
That's because Chris does all the writing and recording, so that's a unique situation. But when we do more with Basher, we'll all get together and we'll probably hammer it for 2-3 days in a row and just record what we have.
Definitely.
I'm not really into fine-tuning everything. It's
it's supposed to be quick and dirty sometimes.
Yeah. If it didn't turn out the way you wanted, fuck it. Write a new song where you want to do what you want. It's whatever.
A couple things with that. One, you said that Chris doing the writing and recording of everything, and that's a whole nother thing anyways. Believe me, doing this podcast over the last couple of years, no, that's pretty common.
Yeah. Well, yeah. A lot of
Trevor
people.
Church does the same thing. And he's just one of the others that do it, but a lot of people do that.
Midnight did it for 15, 16 years before they released their last album, which has a full lineup on it. If somebody's got the whole vision and they don't want to compromise, which
it's
I totally respect. Yeah. And it's they can do it themselves and present it to people and be like, are you game? Yeah, come along. Are you not game? All right, that's cool. Whatever,
well, maybe next time,
Yeah, totally.
And that's how it always is. And the other thing, like I said, it can be quick and dirty. Depending on what you're wanting to do, sometimes that's the best.
Sure.
Just throw something together, throw it out, total DIY.
Especially the raw punk metal fusion thing that I naturally do. It's let's just burn through it, get a feeling down, and move on.
Awesome. So we're definitely looking forward to new Basher stuff in the months and possible year to come.
Yeah, early next year. It's going to be a priority. I'm not going to let it fall by the wayside because after we did those 4 shows, we're all super pumped. They're all just waiting for me to get over this metal stuff.
Right, for sure. Before I get into the general questions, I do want to bring up something else. Riff Raff. Tell us about Riff Raff.
So Riff Raff, my girlfriend and I, we met on the last Savage Master tour where we toured with Lucifer and Overdose. And because I was filling in on bass, she was filling in as roadie, merch lady.
Which is actually when I met you. at a truck stop in southern Indiana.
Because I saw your Savage Master patch from a pump over.
Yes.
And I was feeling social, I guess. I was like, hey, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a small world once you like start talking to people who, you know, are of kin to your interests.
Oh, of course.
So, my girlfriend Sam and I met at that Savage Master tour. A couple months later, we became a thing, and she lives in Nashville, Tennessee. I live in Bloomington. We're traveling back and forth. She is rock and roll to the bone. We're both into like vintage rock shirts. We both love like hair metal, just like rock stuff.
Right, because at the booth that you all had at Heavy Hell too, there was everything. It wasn't just metal. I mean, there was stuff like Guns N' Roses. There was Kiss stuff. There was
Pat Benatar.
Yeah,
Go-Go's, Pennant. Yeah, I mean, we love all that. We love stuff with hooks.
Right.
You know, neither of us are death metal fans. Neither of us are like ambient fans. We love like genres with hooks. Even like hip hop up to 1994.
Right.
And upbeat stuff too. So she likes sewing up shirts to give them form, ness or whatever. And her mom is a seamstress. She actually toured as a wardrobe for Kiss, Rolling Stones, Velvet Revolver, Backstreet Boys. It's Nashville. I mean, everybody I meet is like in it somehow, and it's all, for a lot of people, it's just jobs. It blows my mind. Anyway.
Fixing jeans, boots.
Yeah. So we're sitting around during quarantine with not many options other than, getting to know each other for this new relationship. And I have this idea to take a Lucifer shirt that's black and another shirt that's red. And I wanted to swap the sleeves. So we unstitched sleeves, re-sewn them on with her machine and everything. And I was like, this looks kind of cool. Nobody's really doing this. And my roommate, also in Basher, he has a full print shop. T-shirts, mugs, everything, called In Case of Emergency Press in Bloomington. So we just were like, you want to make some like unique bootleg shirts? And we made this killer Alice Cooper shirt and Scorpion shirt for our first ones, all with swap sleeves, which was incredibly time consuming, and we haven't done that since. Anyway, so we started making a bunch of shirts, and we always wanted to make unique bootleg shirts, not, copies of a Pantera shirt or something that so many other people do. So we made all these shirts, and then we had this idea to make mugs, and which led to us, we love collecting those old carnival mirrors. And I started like researching how I can make this without having the print on the top. And I'm not giving away my secrets because nobody does these things like us.
Right.
So we made that, and then we're making slip mats and pennants. And this was like my rock and roll outlet when we couldn't play shows and when there was no point to practice because there's no shows, no recordings. So we started Riff Raff shirts, bootlegging stuff. And then once things started opening up, we're like vending at markets and fests, and the whole time trying not to get like busted by Alice Cooper's guitar player or something.
Right.
I think all of our stuff is unique enough to where I don't think we get any like cease and desist or anything.
Right. Well, the thing that got me is you were talking about the carnival mirrors, which was so cool. And there'll be a link to the Bandcamp page for Basher so you can see what we're talking about on there because they're for sale on there. But I was telling a friend of mine about this before, and I was like, you remember those little like cardboard framed pictures of the album art that you could always get?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah. I was like, they do those.
Yeah.
But it's like on Mirror. It's fucking cool. He's like, that's badass.
We even, we set up at this place outside of Nashville, this great record store called Viv and Dickie's in Jolton. We set up there usually for Record Store Day.
Nice.
And the last one that we did, we actually we built a balloon popping tent and had a whole like list of, what the darts cost and like, what you win for as many darts. And I mean, in the end, everybody's a winner. If you spend X amount of money that the item costs on darts and you don't win it, we're giving it to you anyway. We're just trying to have fun,
Yeah, and that's what it's about. It's about fun.
Yeah.
And I love looking up like those one-off shirts that people have done back in the day that you don't see ever.
Mm-hmm.
You might see one guy
right
who went to like the 68 tour for Alice Cooper.
Right.
And it'll be like this shirt and that's it. You'll never see another one.
Right.
But doing stuff like that is super cool to me because I don't have $50 to spend on a shirt at a show.
Right.
Yeah. And when I've always bought bootleg shirts for the most part.
I mean, I love to actually be that parking lot shirt guy. Like, I bought, tons of shirts in the 90s from the guy outside. They were always crappy shirts that might disintegrate in your washer, but, they're unique and they're cool. The front would say on tour, the back would say in concert. It became like a thing. And
right.
I don't know if I could get away with it. So much more surveillance now.
These days, absolutely.
Yeah, but I'm going to try.
Most places I've noticed, because you still see it all the time.
Right.
When I went to see Metallica a couple years ago here in Louisville, they were outside there too.
Were they really?
Yeah.
Cool.
It's just like shit.
That's good to hear.
The first time I saw Metallica here in town, I bought a bootleg shirt and it was a design that was only in some kind of monster.
Okay.
And it was like this weird like chrome logo on the front of the shirt. And I was like, whoa. His long sleeve had the stars on the elbows type stuff.
Yeah. It's cool to make them unique. And,
yeah.
A lot of those old ones only would use like the primary colors, like red, blue, and yellow. And sometimes they'd be like goofy caricatures, but it's just part of it.
And it's fun. And it's a culture it's the culture that is always bitched about, but never really done much about unless you're really screwing things up for the band.
Right.
Because it's still a thing that's still out there today, whether it be bootlegging live shows, bootlegging vinyl. Mm-hmm. There's tons of places that bootleg vinyl overseas still.
I know all about it.
Yeah, and like you can still get copies of the green misprint of like Ride the Lightning. Yeah,
got one of those.
I have one of those myself. It's in a frame right now.
I like to call those counterfeits. Bootlegs are kind of I'd say a different thing. You get a live show off a soundboard. That's a bootleg.
Yes,
these are straight.
Or you had something like a taper section,
sure.
Which I would love if bands still did. Metallica wouldn't do it today because they do it themselves because they release all those shows.
Right.
But I've got the handheld recorder right over here that I've taken in the battle vest and might have some pretty cool stuff on there. Who knows?
There's a High Spirits, the one live album. So the one album that I'm on, our buddy took in a handheld recorder and he was going to bootleg it himself. But he's like a close friend, so him and Chris talked about it. So it's actually called Official Bootleg.
Nice.
Yeah.
There's a few of those out there as well, too.
Right.
Welcome to the night. You think you know Night Demon? Then the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast is for you. Step into the darkness as we peel back the curtain to give you an unprecedented, all-access look into the mind and the heart of the demon. We're talking band history, song analysis, studio anecdotes, stories from the road. It's everything a diehard Night Demon fan could want and more. This is the only place to learn the inside scoop, the deep dive trivia, the untold tales from the band members themselves and those closest to the Night Demon story. Need more? The Sacred Night Demon Crypt will be pried open to reveal demo recordings that have never before seen the light of day. All with in-depth commentary by the band and the people who were there for the writing and recording process. This is a gold mine, a treasure trove of all things Night Demon. Head over to nightdemon.net or wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's Gonna Get Weird is the name of the podcast. We're on season 2, so you have a whole season to get weird with Frank Green and Scott Clark. The best part is there's always laughter.
Oh, yeah, you can pull that out.
We have national touring comedians, NFL stars, rock stars, your local friends. It always gets weird. Weird answers.
Have y'all ever snorted coke off of a 78 Pinto? No? You ain't no
man.
Weird questions.
Who had a bigger cocaine habit, Jock Sutherland or Kaywood Ledford?
Neither one, because they stopped beating their wives.
And weird we never even thought of.
Well, no. My friend is on acid, and I sent my friend to go find a payphone so that I can call and turn myself in for murdering this guy and ruin my life.
We love all types of people, but we don't love all people.
Weird. It's Gonna Get Weird is the name of the podcast, available everywhere. And thank you to Big X Sports Radio for being a proud sponsor of It's Gonna Get Weird. Frank Green, Scott Clark. Yeah.
So, let me tell you one more thing is that, so we were doing this Riff Raff shirts thing. We've definitely slowed down with it because all this band stuff's come up, plus some moves, whatever. But we have now, there's a fork in the road that led my girlfriend and I to start a record label under the Riff Raff name. It's not called Riff Raff Records because there's already been a million of those, so we're calling it another Riff Raff label. And our full website launch is October 1st. We have 4 releases coming out at once, all available for shipping November 1st. And then we have some other projects in the works for next year. And so we're super excited about that.
Absolutely. Now, is this going to be something where you're doing CDs, vinyl, and tapes? Is this a tape label? Is it because there's quite a few just tape labels and stuff out there, just CD labels?
Oh, there's tons, yeah. There's no CD plans yet. However, the Basher we are going to make some CDs of that because a lot of people ask for CDs.
Well,
so
I still buy CDs all the time.
So, I mean, the tape is on our label, so that's already out. But catalog number 1 is a vinyl release. It's actually the 20th anniversary of this New York band called the Toilet Boys, kind of glam punk rock.
I like the name already.
I've been a fan of them since late 90s. So has my partner Sam. And when we first met, I was introduced by Stacy Savage to Sam, and I saw a Toilet Boys patch on her jacket, and the first thing I said was, Toilet Boys patch, let's be friends.
Right.
And then we became more than friends, and I don't know, earlier this year I was like, hey, so this, the one Toilet Boys album never actually came out on vinyl. If I contacted the band, do you want to start a label and put that out on vinyl? She was like, of course. And it all happened convenient. We weren't even thinking about it that this is the 20th anniversary of the album. The album actually came out on the 9/11.
Oh, wow.
And they're a New York band.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So add that to, God Hates Us All and that Dream Theater album that came out. So, and happens, I got in contact with them and they were down from the beginning. So I've already got test pressings. The jackets are going to show up in my house in a few days. And yeah, we're putting together this huge package. Being that it was an album released in 2001, it is too long for one vinyl. So it's actually split up into a 12-inch and a 7-inch to pick up the weight.
That is a great deal. I love, there's a few other bands, only a few that I've ever seen that has done that, where you do a full 12-inch vinyl and then the 7-inch to pick up like what last track or two is on there. That's such a great concept.
Now, after I was already like dick deep into it, I realized that 7 inches are a complete money dump, and for a couple of extra $100, it could have been a double 12-inch, and they could have had bonus tracks. But yeah, so that's our catalog number 1, and then 2, 3, and 4 are all cassette releases, and then we'll jump back into vinyl for this kicking band out of Chicago called the Evictions. Another 12-inch for my buddy's Bible of the Devil.
Oh, absolutely. They were at the Heavy Hell show as well.
I actually hooked them up with that.
Nice.
Yeah. I mean, they're like, I've been playing with them for 20 years. They're my homies.
Dude, that's rad.
My old label put out a couple of their 7 inches.
Nice. So again, that is on 10/1 when the label actually is when the website's coming up?
So October 1st is when the full website launches, and we start taking pre-orders on all 4 releases. November 1st is shipping date.
Awesome.
Yep.
It's going to be an interesting 6 weeks here.
Yep. And it'll be more than just albums. You know, being that we do all this like bootleg stuff, we know how to make other things. So like Toilet Boys are letting us open up a temporary store for this whole launch where we'll be selling slip mats. We get to design a couple exclusive shirts. You'll just have to check it all out because we are so deep into it. And
it sounds rad as shit.
I get too many ideas rolling sometimes.
Definitely.
I have to be cut off.
So I'm going to ask you some general profile questions about you as a person.
Shoot.
All right. What do you do to get away from music?
There's plenty to bring me away. Sometimes it's hard to find time to music. I have a 17-year-old daughter.
Oh, wow.
Handful. Yeah.
Aren't they all?
She's a senior in high school. Actually, when she graduates is when I'll be relocating to Nashville. Full-time job, which sometimes runs into more than full-time. Just preparing for events that our shirt thing does, doing layouts. I don't know. I guess like doing layouts for record label stuff is music related, but it's not the same as tuning up.
Right.
That and the fact that I have a long distance relationship and when we're together, we don't just like to talk about business stuff.
Definitely.
So,
of course.
Yeah, we do lots of stuff.
Worst album by your favorite band?
Worst album by my favorite band. So my favorite band would have to be the Helicopters. I'd hate to say they have a worst album, but I think Grande Rock is pretty half-assed, I guess.
I'm not too familiar with them, but I always ask, so that's usually the first album I delve into. So, and then I base an opinion over a whole career.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, yeah, I can see why they said that.
Right. Yeah. Oh, it's all up from there, for sure.
Rapid fire. Priest or Maiden?
Priest.
Definitely.
Well, let's say Diano Maiden. I'm a punk dude, so Diano Maiden, the whole Bruce thing, I get it. People love it. There's some stuff there, but it's too much for me. So Diano Maiden, and
because it's punk Maiden.
Yeah. I got it. If you gave me 3 choices, one being Bruce Maiden, one being Priest, one being Diano Maiden, I'd go with the Diano Maiden. Overall, I'd keep my Judas Priest collection over Maidens.
Definitely. And this weekend, I will be seeing Priest for the first time.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, killer. I only seen him once, and me and my buddy drove up a day early before we were playing in Chicago, and we're like, let's see if you can buy tickets in a parking lot. And we ended up getting them face value. This was the Angel of Retribution tour, and we had like 11th row center for face value.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we had to sit through Queensryche, which was testing our patience. But that
I'm sure.
But it was also like Maiden's first or second tour with Rob back, so it was super exciting.
Priest.
Oh, Priest. Yeah.
Maiden's tour with Rob back.
Right.
That's funny. Well. Right. Might as well. That's funny because I've always wanted the Costa Mesa shows on video. The ones where Rob sang for Black Sabbath.
Oh.
Because Dio refused to do them.
Really?
I've always wanted those shows.
That's cool.
What band do you like that none of your friends like?
What band do I... I have a huge heart for Buck Cherry's first album. And now I don't like that band. And I don't like any other album. But I'll say that album was so awesome to come out when it did because nothing was like rock and roll at the time. And I say that to people and they're like... You're an idiot, but I'll defend it to the death.
I get it. I mean, I'm not a huge fan.
No, I mean
probably not at all a fan, but I get it. Yeah. I remember when they came out, there was like other stuff like to stay on the Cherry theme, like the Eagle Eye Cherry stuff. That guy was like a huge thing at the time, and then they came out and they were like, "Oh, this was this guy," and it's like, "No, it's not, you dumbass."
Right. I remember everybody comparing his vocals to Chris Robinson from the Black Crowes.
I could see that
because they're nasally, I guess.
Right.
Yeah, and I would say that album. To be specific about your question with band, Man, I'd have to like do some scrolling or something to think of something. I don't know. I'm wearing a Trash Brat shirts. I usually can't sell many of my friends on them. They're kind of Detroit cross-dressing, glam, pop punk type stuff. And just like the Toilet Boys, like, and Degeneration. In the 90s, I loved all this like glammy punk rock and roll. And my friends were either like metalheads or they were like street punk guys. And I was like by myself on all that.
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. Who do you wish you never saw live?
Well, shit. Like a month ago or so, I saw Sebastian Bach live with Lita Ford, and I'd always heard for years that Baz kept up his pipes and that he looked good and the energy was on. But man, he looked and sounded like Vince Neil. Now, that being said, turns out 2 days later, he announces on his Instagram that he had COVID and he's going to go ahead and get his shots. It's like,
damage is done, pal.
You son of a bitch. Like, you should have been first in line to get your shots, especially if you're playing shows. And that was a pretty horrible performance. I'm still going to go see him again later this year when he does the Slave to the Grind full album tour.
And even still, even if he was sick at the time, it's probably something to look into just for a redeeming quality. I guess.
Sure. And I mean, those first two Skid Row albums are mine and my girlfriend's top 10.
Nice.
But then I saw a bunch of shows in the 90s just to get laid, like Modest Mouse and Sleater Kinney. Oh God, carve my eyes out.
What was your favorite TV show growing up?
Growing up, I was always like a sitcom type guy. I mean, like TGIF, was my age thing. Friday nights, you had like Full House, Family Matters, and all that
hanging
stuff.
With Mr. Cooper.
Yeah, exactly. What still holds up for me is Garfield and Friends. The later Looney Tunes stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right on.
Simple stuff. I was all before TV actually got good in the 90s,
Well,
HBO stuff.
I recently went back, and with HBO Max, I recently went back and watched, because they have it on their Head of the Class with Howard Hessman, Johnny Ford.
Really? They have that on?
Yes. And I was just like, I always remember watching it as a kid.
Yeah.
But by the time that show ended, I was only seeing reruns at that point, because the show ended in like 90.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I remember being like younger and seeing episodes of it, but it was just like going back now and watching it, it's like, oh wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it does make you think of high school. And I just love the way things were shot then versus like all the digital shit now. Sure. Don't get me wrong, digital has its place. And for space and time and stuff like that, digital has its place. But like that gritty quality of the way shows were filmed back in the 70s and 80s were totally rad. And even into the 90s.
70s, I think, had like the best film texture.
Yes.
That's probably for
just
TV,
for movies and stuff.
For
in
movies,
general.
yeah. I mean, every still could be like a poster.
Yeah. Very much so.
Yeah.
Very much. What's your biggest pet peeve?
Hope my roommate's listening, because I mentioned this when we moved in together. I got one pet peeve, and that is somebody who leaves dishes in the drain part of the sink. Like, there's two sides of the sink. If you're not going to do your dishes, get them the fuck out of my way. Don't make me pick up your not scrubbed up, cheese dry dish. Get them out of my way. Put them in the other side. Do whatever. I don't care. Don't make me move them.
You know what? I am that way too. Where I moved from, we had two sinks. I've only got one here. Mm-hmm. So when I'm just like, this is the side that you drain.
Yeah.
This is the side that you wash.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know if that's like some inherent like bred-in trait from like restaurant work somewhere, but it's like, the triple sink is a triple sink for a reason.
Right. Yeah.
And I 100% agree with you. That is like, it gets on my nerves. It's like, don't stack dishes in both fucking sides.
Yeah, totally. Just like, don't make me do anything that has to do with your dishes. Me and my ex-wife got into it a couple times over that, and, that's how that ended.
Right.
One day he'll be my ex-roommate.
Oh. Oh. What is something you've always wanted to do, but you're not coordinated enough to do?
Oh, play drums, skateboard. The feet thing I can't get. I mean, I can snowboard, I can ski. I grew up a 90s teenager. I still love my rollerblades, but I can't skateboard for shit. And drumming, yeah, the whole feet thing.
Right.
Coupled with, I don't really hear music that well, I guess. I can't pick out drums. I can rarely hear the bass. When I fill in for a band like Savage Master, I tell Adam, I'm like, you got to show me how to play this. I'm not going to sit here and figure it out. And I can barely hear the bass anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
Hey guys, Wrestling Steve of the Wrestling Steve Show here. So if you're currently listening to the Metal Forge with Mark Jackson, then you understand that Mark Jackson has a pretty discerning taste when it comes to music as a whole. You'll also understand that he has a discerning taste for professional wrestling, just like me. My show is called The Wrestling Steve Show. I talk about modern and classic pro wrestling in a completely unbiased, unfiltered way. Be sure to check me out on all available podcasting platforms. That is The Wrestling Steve Show. And I am the host, Wrestling Steve. Just remember, like Confucius said, man who goes through turnstile in Thailand is going to Bangkok. Pro wrestling.
Hey, it's Mark Maxwell at Maxwell's House of Music. Listen, all this stuff is now available to purchase on our website. Check it out at maxwellshouseofmusic.com.
We carry all the top brands, like Fender.
We got Gibson.
We also have basses.
We've got ukuleles.
We got drums.
We've got sound gear.
We've got keyboards.
What is your most unpopular music opinion?
I think John Bush was a great Anthrax singer. Not that all the albums were great, but I think he was a great singer. And, at the time in the 90s, I didn't want him to, get back with Belladonna.
Right. I could see that.
But sounds were changing.
Yeah. I mean, you're right to the degree of he was a good fit for them. Not everything was a banger.
No. Yeah.
But I think he works well with them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So for sure, I could get behind that.
Yeah.
With world travels, touring, so on and so forth, I look at Adam's Instagram page and see the goofy shit that he posts that he collects on tour and such. So he is the genesis of this question.
Okay.
We collect things.
Sure.
As musicians, knickknacks, videos, whatever. What do you collect?
Well, on tour, a lot of times I'll buy a deck of cards of the city I'm in. I just have piles of decks of cards. They don't have to be fancy or anything, but I've got a deck of cards from Munich, from Newcastle, from Dallas. I collect that, and all my jewelry that I have, necklaces, rings, bracelets, those are all bought on tour while I'm bored, walking around markets or something.
Definitely.
Yeah. I never buy that stuff online.
I've never heard the deck of cards thing. That's a very unique answer. Yeah. That's really cool.
Yeah. It's just kind of what's cheap-ish, and will remind me of places that I've been to. So, yeah, I've got 30 decks of cards that I don't... It's not that I make a point not to open them, but it's just they just go in a drawer.
Right. But, it's something that'll remind you of that show in Munich, and shout out to the Nightfire guys.
Exactly. Oh, I know them.
Yeah, because
we played with them. High Spirits played with them twice. Wait,
yes.
They're in
the Munster stuff. You've played with them there.
Yep, Nightfire. Yeah. Yep, they've hosted us twice.
And apparently they had to move a venue one time or something because it was so oversold.
Yeah, the first time. Which so we've only been to the same venue twice, so it must have been the first time that it oversold. And those are great shows. That spot that we played is awesome.
I've heard that High Spirits has a massive German following. So,
yep, Germans that's the bread and butter. They're great. They're loyal. They have fun. Merch sales are through the roof in Germany.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but for High Spirits, besides anywhere in Germany, I think our biggest clan is Newcastle, England.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, where the Brofest happens. That's where our new booking agent lives.
Yeah, I've had another Newcastle band on. So,
oh, really?
Yeah, Skyrider.
Oh,
yeah, they're from Newcastle.
We might have played with them as well.
Maybe they're cool dudes too. So, and that's the beauty part about doing this show is because, like I said, I met you at the weirdest fucking place in the world, and all these other people that have like come in. It's such a tight knit community, regardless of area.
Yeah.
Where we're talking about Nightfire in Munster, Germany, and Newcastle, England, and you guys are in Chicago and Bloomington, and I'm in Louisville, and and everybody knows everybody, so it's super cool.
Well, a lot of people get into playing in bands, and you see in a couple of years who drops out, who gets their kicks and quits, and the pool gets smaller and smaller of the true believers or the lifers.
For sure.
And quarantine knocked out tons of people.
Yeah. Because a lot of times, there's a ton of people out there who did and do rely on this for their day-to-day job. The tour, the selling of merch, the playing a show, 300 nights a year type stuff.
Sure. Oh, yeah. I mean, I can't imagine what they go through, or what they are still going through. But even people who do it as a hobby, I would call what I do as a hobby. It's not income based at all. It's all for kicks. It's all holiday. But a lot of people who are in the same position, when they don't do it in a routine fashion, they fall out of it, and it's hard to get back. And they're over it because they replaced it with something, or they realize they don't need it. And in a lot of ways, that's, I don't know. Different opinions, I guess. Like, in a lot of ways, it's good because sometimes bands are just taking up space. But then in another way, we need local bands to open up shows and to put on shows.
Right. Absolutely.
Stuff. Yeah.
Definitely. I got a couple more for you.
Okay.
What album is absolute playthrough for you?
Oh, I mean, besides Zeke's Death Alley, Helicopters, Paying the Dues, Hookers 2, Black Wisdom.
Definitely. I love that cover.
Oh, yeah. It's a great cover.
Oops.
Yeah, it's an absolutely great, scope of scenery.
Definitely.
I'll pump the Toilet Boys album one more time, all the way through.
Soon to be coming out again.
Yeah. 20th anniversary.
Hell yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So I have one more question, but before I get to it, I do want to always mention links will be listed below, so you can give a like, a share, a follow, purchase some stuff from these guys. Always. So show support, do what you do, and do it real well.
Yeah. And enjoy it.
Yes, and enjoy it.
Purchase it if you're into it. The whole support thing sometimes can be overplayed. It's good to support other bands, and but yeah.
And I think that falls under the like and the share and follow thing, because it might not be for you, but you know what? You might have a friend out there.
Tell a buddy about it that's into it.
That might just dig this.
For sure.
And share it to them. Let them know about it.
Yeah.
That's what matters.
Yeah.
Do you have any shout outs you want to give to anybody?
Shout outs. I've mentioned my lady Sam a bunch. Her and I have been partners in many ways, and going forward, my daughter Emma, she's probably sitting in school right now. She's great. She might come see my show one day. We'll see.
When you do an all ages show?
Yeah, she's 17. So sometimes dad isn't the coolest, even though her friends think I'm cool. I know it.
Right.
Shout out to you for doing this whole thing. This takes effort, and it's great when people do stuff. A lot of people have ideas, and it's just diving in and just doing it. And anybody who does stuff, gets a tip of the hat from me.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you.
I'll wrap it up there.
I appreciate it. So, last question of the day. What album changed your life?
What album changed my life? I'm going to have to go with Punk-O-Rama 1, the Epitaph Records compilation.
All right.
When I first got into music, it was 1991. I got into Guns N' Roses, Motley Crue, Metallica. It was all at the top of the charts. Then grunge came, and I was totally in the uncool boat, liking all that. And, Crue's still one of my favorites and all. Not long after I got into DRI, which kind of had that more punk edge to it. And it was probably MTV or Friends or something when, I saw like Bad Religion videos and Rancid videos. And, Rancid used to be on all the alternative rock
Definitely.
stations.
Shout out to Lars because he's a friend of the show.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. I mean, Lars was like the coolest punk when I was a kid. His old skinhead look right now is, he just had great hair. Bring back the hair. Go with that skin stuff. But, the Punk-O-Rama 1 comp that came out, which opened the doors to like NoFX and Total Chaos. And before long, in junior high, I traded a buddy, My Injustice for All, for Punk and Drublick. And I never regretted that.
Nice.
So it was that kind of that comp that showed me a bunch of bands at once. Because we're talking like 93, 94,
Right.
There's no like internet, Spotify, nothing. And MTV catered to whatever the big wigs were putting out. So
the Michael Jacksons and the and that shit.
Whoever was paying for the airtime.
Right.
Yeah. So and
all the Sony artists.
I don't still love all that kind of skater punk stuff. I mean, I do, but I don't. It's not my main, shit. But that just kind of like turned me on to punk rock.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I think mixtapes and comp CDs and stuff like that are a lost art.
Oh, for sure.
And
actually, I'm
part
of
Spotify playlists.
Not the same.
Are not the same at all.
It's tangibility. It's touching something. And I'm part of these Instagram mixtape trade groups.
Oh, okay.
There's a metal punk mixtape one. There's one that's just called Mixtape Exchange. That's more open. So I do a lot of like power pop comps and send them. And it's blind. It's a blind trade. Wow. Yeah, it's tons of fun.
I definitely need to get into that.
I've got a stack 10, 11 high of ones that I've received, and they're great. Sometimes they're not always bangers, but sometimes they're great. Like I got this dark wave goth one last October and all. But I love doing that. And all the metal that I play, it's all kind of like punky rock and roll influence.
Well,
we might have some harmonies and stuff, but it's all like high energy. There's nothing proggy about it. So yeah,
definitely. Well, Pinz, thank you so much for coming on the Metal Forge this week, girl.
Yeah.
From Destructions Included, what are we going to play out today?
I'd go with Lockdown Love Affair. It's the song I wrote about meeting my lady right before the world was shut down. It was the first song. It's got everything that Basher's going to do rolled into one.
Hell yes. You heard him. This is Lockdown Love Affair.
Woo!
New York City, sure you would be the one.
Hey, thank you all for tuning into this week's episode of The Metal Forge. I want to take a minute to remind you guys about the Patreon page. Over on the Patreon page, we have the tiers set up to support the production of the show. We feature the Down and Dirty, which is just $1. There's nothing special for that one, it just sends me a thank you because every dollar helps. Then there's the Double Down and Dirty. Much akin to the Down and Dirty tier, everything helps produce the show in the end. You make your presence known, and I appreciate that more than you realize. Thank you for being a dedicated friend and supporter to the Metal Forge. By selecting that tier, you will receive some cool Metal Forge stickers in your mailbox. Now, we're really going to start pounding the metal madness with the Apprentice Metalhead for just $5 a month. By becoming an Apprentice Metalhead, you'll be given early access to the shows, published 24 hours before everyone else gets it. You're also going to receive 3 entries in any contest that we do here at the Metal Forge. You're also going to receive a 10% discount on all Metal Forge merch, and you're going to receive a sweet Metal Forge patch for your battle jacket or backpack. And now, here is the big one. This is the Master Metalhead for just $10 a month. By becoming a Master Metalhead, you will receive a hand-numbered Metal Forge Master Metalhead membership card. You're going to be given early access to the shows as well, with 36 hours before everyone else. You're going to receive 5 entries in any contest that we do here at the Metal Forge. You'll be able to submit audio questions that I will use on the show of you asking questions to the upcoming guests. Remember, timing is everything, and you will need to keep up with the upcoming guest list on the website. You're also going to receive advanced knowledge of any new merch coming out and be given a 25% discount on all Metal Forge merch. And you're also going to get all of the other rewards from the other tiers. So visit patreon.com/Metal Forge Radio today and help support the Metal Forge. Rock on.